Tonight, a serious crash at the start of rush hour sends 3 women and an infant to hospital.
It looks like a light violation caused the chain reaction to start.
The crash just the latest in a string of pedestrian accidents this week. Plus,
students this fall will still be in smaller class sizes and still enjoy a variety of courses.
the layoff notices went out. Students and school boards braced for bigger class sizes this fall. Now it looks like that won't happen. And Ontario's own Brooke Henderson gives the crowd plenty to cheer about in the first round at the CP Women's Open. The 21-year-old looking to defend her title in Aurora. Good evening, I'm Mike Wise. A major accident at College in Bay this afternoon, sending 3 women and an infant to hospital after they were caught in a collision involving a car, a truck, and an SUV driving for Uber. Angelina King has the details on just the latest pedestrian accident on city streets.
It stopped afternoon commuters in their tracks. Witnesses described the crash and the aftermath as shocking.
Heard this bang, right? And I went closer to there were 2 people lying down there. One was like a really old lady, and she was not moving. She was kind of like lifeless. And even her hand was totally twisted. And there was another lady, I think she was fine too. And then I just spent some time. People were trying to give CPR and stuff, I believe.
Police say 2 women and a baby were using the crosswalk when an SUV hit them. They were rushed to hospital. The baby had minor injuries but will be okay. The women not as lucky. One was seriously injured. The other was in life-threatening condition for a while but has since stabilized. The 3rd woman, who was driving one of the vehicles involved, suffered minor injuries. Cameras that captured the crash, like this police CCTV camera, helped investigators quickly piece together what happened. They say an SUV was traveling northbound here on Bay Street, ran a light in some capacity, hitting 2 pedestrians in the intersection.
That vehicle collided with 2 other vehicles that were traveling west, as I've described, one of the white Toyotas and the pickup truck.
The man behind the wheel of the SUV is an Uber driver. The company says it removed his access to the app but didn't confirm whether he was on the job or carrying any passengers at the time. In a statement, Uber says, "We extend our thoughts to all those involved in this incident. We stand ready to assist authorities and will provide any information to them for their investigation." Police say all 3 drivers remained on scene, but that wasn't the case in a hit and run yesterday afternoon. An elderly woman was killed while using a crosswalk in Scarborough. The day before, another pedestrian was hit and killed in North York.
It has been a tough week for sure, to say the least, in terms of collisions in the city, and this is another one.
Sergeant Moore says 19 pedestrians have been killed in Toronto so far this year. Angelina King, CBC News, Toronto.
And as Angelina mentioned, police are asking for your help in finding a driver involved in that fatal hit and run at Midland and Shepherd. They released this grainy picture of a car that they believe is the 2nd vehicle involved in that accident. It happened yesterday just before noon. A 76-year-old woman was crossing Midland when a truck turning right hit her. The woman was knocked to the ground. A few minutes later, though, the driver of that white sedan also turned right onto Midland, striking the victim and dragging her. That's when a young male driver pulled over, got out of his car, and then back in and fled the scene. Police found the driver of the truck shortly after the accident and are still looking for the man driving that 2nd white car. Police are asking anyone with security or dash cam footage of the area at the time to give them a call. And we now know the name of the man who was killed in a shooting we told you about last night. Abdakani Eshmal was shot by a passing vehicle while driving on Weston Road near Jane Street. That's when his car went off the road and hit a tree. Police today saying they believe the shooting is targeted. Well, the publisher of a community newspaper convicted of hate crimes will be spending the next year in jail. The sentencing comes after a lengthy effort by complainants to get the paper shut down.
While it's taken a long time and a lot of people have spent a lot of time and energy on this, it was worth it. So that's what I would say to other people who, receive this type of publication. Don't stand for it. Speak out. Do whatever you can, because nowhere in society should we be tolerating racism or anti-Semitism or misogyny. It just shouldn't be allowed.
James Sears was a writer and editor of Your Ward News. The courts found him guilty of willfully promoting hatred against women and Jewish people in articles he wrote and edited over a 3-year period. The Crown chose to prosecute the case by summary conviction, meaning the maximum sentence the judge could impose is 1 year in jail, 6 months for each of the charges. Well, Metrolink says it is investigating after a GO bus driver failed a drug and alcohol test while on duty this morning. In an email release, it says a passenger reached out to Transit Safety and expressed concern about an operator's ability to drive. The transit agency said that the driver had picked up customers in Brampton. After the complaint was made, he was removed from service when he pulled into York Mills Station. The driver was tested for drugs and alcohol and failed. About 15 customers were on board the bus at the time. Metrolink says the driver has been a GO bus operator for 30 years. With the start of the school year just about 12 days away, the province announced today that classroom sizes will effectively stay the same for now. School boards are now scrambling to figure out what this latest development means. As Queen's Park reporter Mike Crawley explains, the Education Minister is blaming all of this confusion on misinformation.
A handful of protesters, unhappy with the government's new sex ed curriculum, try to send a message to the Education Minister.
And it's another promise made, promise broken.
But talking about sex ed is not the minister's priority today. It's class size.
Which is why today I'm announcing that class sizes will effectively remain the same as last year for this September.
It's a message that contrasts with what his predecessor was saying just a few months ago.
And now it's time to set Ontario's schools on a new sustainable path.
Then Minister Lisa Thompson announcing that the average class size in secondary schools would go from the current level of 22 up to 28.
We know not everyone will agree with every single part of our plan.
Indeed, not everyone agreed.
No cuts to education! No.
Students protested, as did teachers and parents. Facing budget cuts, school boards issued layoff notices, canceled optional courses, and predicted some classes would balloon.
If there's 40 people in a class, I don't even know how that'll work.
The Education Minister now says those fears are overblown.
When it comes to education, we have been consistent, we have been transparent, and we're going to continue to do that.
Although class sizes won't rise much this year, the government still plans to phase in the increase over the next 3 years.
It means fewer course options for students. It means overcrowded classes, and nothing about that, by the minister's own admission this morning, has been changed.
A spokesman for Ontario's largest school board says staff will now have to determine how today's announcement will impact the TDSB. And officials in the Peel District School Board say they need more information before they'll know whether classes or timetables will have to be reorganized. The timing of the minister's announcement is not just because kids head back to school the week after next. Teachers' contracts expire at the end of this month, and the negotiations are ramping up. Mike Crawley, CBC News, Toronto.
Colette Kennedy's here with a first look at the forecast. There are no guarantees in weather, but I think if you had to guarantee that most people would like your forecast, this is a good one.
Yeah, more of the same coming up. And I think you're right, Mike, especially when we're getting closer to the weekend. And here we go as we approach it, seeing more lovely weather. And we can kind of thank what's happening with this cold front. That's what came through yesterday. So that very humid air that was in place kind of wiped the slate clean and took some of that humidity out of the air, and also then high pressure building in, so we're seeing a great deal of sunshine. A few little spotty showers. You could see that potential in the overnight hours there, and I mean really spotty Saturday night. I actually don't think we'll really see anything from this. And then into the day, not only Friday, but Saturday looking good too. So here's the comparison. The dew points yesterday looked like this. Definitely uncomfortable, oppressive in terms of how it feels. And the dew points today, so cut in half, in some cases even more than that. And we continue with this kind of humidity low for several days. Into the weekend we go. Overnight, though, tonight 13 with mostly clear skies, and 23 tomorrow, much like today, Mike.
Looking great. Thanks a lot, Colette.
You're welcome.
A woman and her blind adult son could be separated for the first time in their lives. His refugee claim was accepted, but now she's facing deportation to a country where she says she has no home and no family. We'll have that story after the break.
3, 2, 1, fire.
Well, this is the last chance you'll ever get to look at the former Nanticoke generating station on Lake Erie. There it goes. It faced demolition today. At one point, it was the largest coal-fired generating plant in the world. It produced power for more than 40 years, and at its peak capacity, could power a city the size of Toronto. But it hasn't been a working coal plant in many years. The station burned its last piece of coal at the end of 2013. Well, the mother and her blind adult son are worried tonight they could soon be separated. Sylvia Williams says the two have never been apart for long, but that could change as a result of Canada's immigration rules. As Lisa Shing tells us, his application to stay in Canada was approved, hers wasn't.
For lunch, Sylvia Williams is fixing up some rice and peas and cucumber salad for her son Ramon. Cooking is just one of the daily tasks he can't do on his own. He's blind and
Ramon has developmental issues in that, although he's an adult, he really cannot manage, especially personal matters, on his own.
it all stems from a brain tumor Ramon had removed as an infant in Toronto. The two have been back and forth between Canada and Barbados since then. 2 years ago, they applied for refugee status. Ramon faced discrimination and harassment back home, and there are no services for him there. Sylvia was escaping an abusive relationship. Ramon was accepted. Sylvia denied.
I was disappointed and heartbreaking.
My mom is the only person that I know. I don't know no one else.
Her appeal was also rejected because immigration couldn't see a risk to her safety if she returned to Barbados. Sylvia has since launched a judicial review of that decision. If that's thrown out in court, she can be deported at any time.
Every night we're losing sleep over this. Can't eat properly, can't sleep properly.
In another attempt to stay with her son, Sylvia applied to stay in the country on humanitarian grounds, but that can't be considered until at least a year after her judicial review wraps up, according to immigration lawyer Gidi Mammon.
It makes no sense. If we have a humanitarian tradition, it should be available to all and all the time, not just denied arbitrarily for a period of time.
Sylvia says she's thankful Ramon was accepted, but wonders if the government could have helped keep them together without having to jump through so many hoops.
What does it say about the immigration system?
I saw Canada as a humane country where, in cases like this, the administration would have been more lenient. I've lost my property, no job, so I'll be on the streets, more or less. Whereas in Canada, I have residency, a job, and family.
If she's sent back, it would be the first time in their lives the two are separated. Lisa Shing, CBC News, Toronto.
Do you guys have any family here?
Well, Smith Falls native Brooke Henderson looking to defend her title at the CP Canadian Women's Open in Aurora this weekend. And she's off to an early lead. We'll take you to the golf course coming up.
The weather update is brought to you by Train Extreme Conditions Testing. It's hard to stop a train, really hard. Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand.
We could see Canadian history this weekend in Aurora. That's where golfer Brooke Henderson is attempting to defend her CP Women's Open title. Henderson is only the second Canadian to win this tournament, and no Canadian has ever won it twice. Our Greg Ross caught up with her today.
Please welcome Brooke Henderson!
The reigning CP Women's Open champion didn't know what to expect when she took to the course this morning to officially begin defense of her title.
When I showed up this morning, it was really cold and really windy, and I was kind of like, uh-oh.
But she quickly forgot about the weather conditions when she saw the massive crowd of fans that showed up early to watch her round.
To have this many people out on Thursday morning is pretty special. And, you know, they were cheering for me right and early.
Among them, Henderson's 8-year-old cousin, Jordan Drummond, who came to see Henderson play live and in person for the first time.
How'd you feel watching your cousin out there playing in front of those big crowds?
It was pretty amazing. Now, like, that I see her here, I didn't realize how much, like, people that she gets in front of, like, fans she has. So, I don't know, I'm just really proud of her.
Maybe one day you could do that?
I'll try, but probably not.
Henderson gave her fans plenty to cheer about. This birdie on 18 was one of 7 for Henderson in the opening round. She finished at the top of the leaderboard at 6 under.
A Canadian wins.
Picking up where she left off last year when she became the first Canadian in 45 years to win this title.
Knowing that I was capable of winning this event after having done it last year, I just think gave me a lot of confidence and made me more comfortable in front of these crowds. And just knowing that I've done it before, I think, you know, it just gave me it just relaxed me a little bit, made me a little bit more calm, which I think is key when I'm playing well.
Henderson is looking to win the tournament on home soil just a couple of weeks after Bianca Andreescu did the same thing at the Rogers Cup. Henderson says she watched the 19-year-old tennis star on television.
Watching her compete was really inspiring to me, and I think gave me a little bit extra motivation, and I think it's doing the same for the whole country. So it's a pretty cool time to be involved with Canadian sports, I think.
Henderson is not the only Canadian among the leaders after round 1, and Catherine Tanguay of Quebec also fired a 6 under and is tied with Henderson. And talk about making history out here on the golf course today. How about Michelle Liu, a 12-year-old grade 8 student who qualified for this tournament? She's among the 15 Canadians here. She becomes the youngest Canadian ever to compete in this national championship, breaking the former record, which was held by Brooke Henderson. She played in this tournament when she was 14 years old. Liu fired a 9 over today in her opening round. Greg Ross, CBC News, Aurora.
Colette Kennedy's back with her extended forecast and something to celebrate. We've got a nice stretch of weather ahead of us.
We do, and we're getting towards a weekend. So this is fantastic, especially as we're getting towards the end of summer, too. You want to have as many nice weekends as you can get. And here we go. Daytime highs today. So yesterday we were just a little bit over 30 degrees. And look at this. Today, 23. So quite the departure, and of course how the air feels as well. A lot of that has to do with where we're seeing the wind directions coming from. Now at times a little bit gusty, so some of those gusts certainly over 30 kilometers an hour. We have that potential even into tomorrow morning. So just know it feels a little cool with some of these overnight lows now dropping down there towards in the region. It'll be 12 to 14 for the overnight lows. And then as we go through the day tomorrow, we're going to find they start to ease a little bit, but not much of a change, you notice, in the direction. We're still into that north to northwesterly flow by the time we get to Saturday, north to northeasterly. Yeah, it's not really going to start to change until we get towards the end of the weekend, and then the humidity will start to come up a little bit. So the outlook, precipitation outlook, with high pressure building in, as I always say, that sinking and very stable air. It means things are really looking good in terms of some dry conditions for us. An isolated shower possible, but generally it's going to be on the south shore of Lake Erie where there'd be any precipitation to be found. Should you be looking for it, that's where you'd need to go, close by anyway. And then for our temperatures overnight tonight, you see the range for southwestern Ontario, even a little bit cooler, so 12 to 13 with the overnight lows. Highs tomorrow, yeah, some of you there getting towards the mid-20s. Windsor, you will see that. And then around the GTA, those lows 12 to 14 degrees, mostly clear skies tonight. Might be a tiny bit of patchy fog. Shouldn't see much from this. And then into tomorrow afternoon, 23 degrees all around, including towards Oshawa, Markham, Mississauga, Hamilton, Toronto, and then St. Catharines a tiny bit warmer at 24. But another day where that temperature you see on the thermometer, that's really how it feels because we don't have to worry about the humidity or humidex. All right, Saturday then, the numbers look like this, 24 degrees with that sunshine. A little bit warmer into Sunday, 25, maybe feeling like about 27. So that's what I mean. The wind's starting to change direction. A little bit of humidity coming back in. Monday, 25 to 26 for a high, and a few more clouds coming in too, because the next chance, significant chance anyway, to see some showers isn't coming up till maybe Monday night, or it looks like really into Tuesday, Mike. That's quite the stretch we're going to have.
But that's, the Tuesday weather, that's after a nice weekend. So we'll worry about it next week.
No one's going to worry about that. That's right. Not this weekend anyway.
Thanks a lot, Colette.
You got it.
This is it. When the clerk calls your name and you get the certificate from the minister and you shake all these hands and you go back and go to the side and sign the certificate, that's when you're becoming a Canadian citizen.
Well, to say this is no ordinary citizenship ceremony is a bit of an understatement. It's a Fan Expo version. We'll take you there after the break. Today marks the start of Fan Expo in Toronto, a chance for people to celebrate their favorite superheroes or sci-fi characters. Things kicked off with a rather special citizenship ceremony today, where those taking the oath came from countries around the world, and those watching came from a galaxy far, far away. Take a look.
It is a big day. This is a big day for all of you. You've been waiting a long time for this, right? And soon you're going to be saying the oath of citizenship to become a Canadian citizen.
Being on the other side, I know what the people are going through. I know the excitement, the frustration, and the relief of getting through it and knowing that you're part of this amazing country.
In accepting citizenship today, you also accept your responsibilities, such as the responsibility to obey the law, to take responsibility for yourself and your family, and to vote. You also have a responsibility to help others in the community. Volunteerism is an important component of our Canadian society, and I encourage all of you to actively seek out opportunities to do so. It is through such service that you can deepen your knowledge and love of Canada.
I swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty, and that I will faithfully observe the laws of Canada and fulfill my duties as a Canadian citizen.
So, as the clerk mentioned, please meet the minister and leave all your papers. Don't worry about it. I will watch it, and I got support from the back with the stormtroopers. Okay, so don't worry about it. Congratulations. Take your flag. What do you do?
I'm a civil engineer.
Civil engineer.
Yeah,
nice. Excellent. Welcome to Canada.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations. Welcome. Welcome, sir. You're now a Canadian citizen.
Joy, overwhelmed, you know, it was just tremendous to be such a part of, you know, a great nation, to making that step on becoming a part of, you know, something truly amazing.
It's a good way to show inclusion. Everybody has a home here in Canada, especially in the arts. And, you know, we walk around in life with our own busy little life, but the fact that we can celebrate each other and help each other feel included, I think is fantastic. So that's why I think having the citizenship ceremony here is so much fun. And actually, I was looking forward to it. It was fun for me.
Well, congratulations to them. I just hope Darth Vader didn't convince anyone to pledge allegiance to the dark side. That's our show for tonight. I'm off for a few days. Talia Ricci will be here tomorrow night. Good night.